What were the wise men looking for? Think about this. The wise men, the gospel calls them magi. They lived very, very far away from where Jesus was. They were probably pretty rich. I mean, if they could take this long, long journey and bring gold to give to him, they must have had a good bit of money. Magi were very powerful people. They were usually advisors to kings. These three, they may or they may not, they might have even been kings themselves. What reason did they have to leave, to get up from where they had servants and from where they had everything they needed, and to journey 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 to this place called Bethlehem to find this little child called Jesus? They had everything that the world could offer. So maybe they were wise because they were looking for something more. They saw the star. They knew the prophecy that a king of the world would come from this little place called Judah. So they got up and they left the comfort of their home to go and to search for something more. I remember the first time that I moved away. It was about 10 years ago. I was 19 years old, and I was moving out of my parents' house. I had spent a year going to UL, living with my parents, because it was cheaper. And when I was at UL, even though I still lived in Church Point with my mom and my dad, I found something. I found something very important. I found a group of people who welcomed me. I found a group of people who I knew, for some reason, cared about me. And not just my potential for what I might do in the future. And not just how I might be able to help them. But I found a group of people. The first thing I did when I was at UL for that year in college is I went to the Catholic Center, and we did like a little local mission trip thing in Lafayette, and I got to know some people, and well, here's the thing. I thought that maybe I kind of felt like deep down in my heart that God might be calling me to be a priest, but I was scared to tell that to anybody. Because I was scared that the people at home, that all the people who had seen me as an altar server and growing up and stuff, who were praying for me to be a priest, I was scared that they were going to pressure me and that they were going to push me to go to seminary. But then I went to UL and I found this group of people who didn't really care whether I went to the seminary or not. I found this group of people who only really cared about if I would be holy. Care about just helping me to become a saint. I found something very special there. And what I found in that home away from home, at the Catholic Center, at UL, helped to give me the strength to pack my bags, pick up all of my roots, and move to Church Point, to this wonderful place called Thibodaux, Louisiana. So 10 years ago, I moved to Thibodaux. And Thibodaux's great. I love Thibodaux. I love being in Thibodaux. But Thibodaux has some of the same problems as Church Point. And actually, UL and even the Catholic Center at UL had its own problems. And then I came to Thibodaux, but then I had to go to the seminary, and so I picked up and I moved to Covington. And then I finished the time in seminary in Covington, and then so I had to pick up and move to Houma for a year, and then moved to Houma for a year, and then I went to Omaha, Nebraska for a summer, and then I got back, and then I picked up and I moved to New Orleans, and then after I moved to New Orleans, I became a priest, and the bishop said, well, you're going to go to Houma. So I picked up and I moved from New Orleans and I went to Houma, and I thought I was going to be there for 2 years, and I was there for 6 months. And Father Mark came and sat in my office and he said, hey, I want you to come with me to Thibodaux. I said, okay. And so I prayed and I talked to my spiritual director, but I said, okay. And we picked up and we moved to Thibodaux. And man, I don't know how many times that is in 10 years, but I almost feel like that's too many. But I've learned something. I've learned that I can either chase a place or I can chase a person. Say it again. I learned that I can look for happiness seeking for a place, or I can look for happiness seeking a person. You see, of all of the places that I've been, a few places in a few years, no place has ever satisfied me. Not Church Point or Lafayette or Covington or Thibodaux or Houma or New Orleans or anywhere else. But what has brought me happiness is a person. And the wise men, they knew whatever place they were in, even if they had all the comfort and all the money, and they were smart, and they had power, and they had influence, the place was not going to give them happiness. So they picked up, they loaded up their camels and whatever else they had, and they took the long, long journey to a place that it wasn't a city, it wasn't very impressive. It was like a little village. Think about it. These guys, they're like kings, or they're advisors to kings. They're coming from like palaces and gold and riches. And where do they go? They go to the poor little village. Like they went to Chacahula. They came from New York City to Chacahula to find a person. A person who is the source of their life, who is the source of their happiness. The Bible says that when they found the person, they fell down on their knees, maybe even on their faces, to worship Him. That person has a name, and His name is Jesus. And that person is here tonight. That person is present in the Blessed Sacrament. That person wants to encounter you, and he wants to encounter me. We're going to start talking a lot about how Christ the Redeemer, this place, is supposed to be a home. A home for you and a home for me. I want to tell you what that means. A home is only so good as it helps us to encounter Him. A home is only so good as it helps us to encounter Him. A home is made up of people. So when I went to UL, I moved to Lafayette. I wasn't even living in the city. But I really did find a home at the Catholic Center because the people there pointed me to Him. Because the people there allowed me to be myself. Because the people there didn't just judge me off the bat. Because the people there didn't pressure me to be, to be like they wanted me to be. Or to be conformed to their image of what I should be. I found a home at the Catholic Center at UL because they had people who helped me to find that person, to find Jesus. I found a home in a summer and a half in Nebraska. I found a home in New Orleans at Notre Dame Seminary. I found a home here as I'm surrounded by people who love me, and by people who help me to stay focused on the person who is the fulfillment of all of my desire and who gives to me the deep peace and the deep joy that I crave. So together, let's make our parish a home. Together, let's make Christ the Redeemer a home. Together. Not by focusing on a place, but together, let us follow a person and find Him whom we seek.